Good morning, everybody. Didn't mean to scare you. We're going to kick things off. I'd first like to thank Jill for allowing me to meet with you every month, once a month. So a little bit about what we're going to do today and what we're going to talk about is community engagement. It's very near and dear to me. So my name is Jeff Lourie. I'm the temporary caretaker of your police department. I'm your police chief. You're stuck with me for a little bit. And one of the things that I like to do is kind of engage everyone. So I know our kids are important, our residents are important, and our senior center and our seniors are very important. So we're going to meet once a month. You're going to meet different members of the police department. We're going to tell you what we do every day and explain the specialties and different things that we're already doing and that we're going to bring to Falmouth and the region. With me today is my two captains, Captain Reed and Captain Lowen. And they're going to be batting cleanup for me today because I have to leave. I have another meeting at 11 o'clock. So I'm going to try not to schedule things, but this was something that came up that I can't miss. So a little bit about me. I've been a police officer for over 35 years. I started my career in central Massachusetts, worked for several police departments, my hometown of Shrewsbury. Under the civil service system, we're going to talk about that. I transferred to the Auburn Police Department, where I rose through the ranks there as a detective lieutenant. I love a challenge, so I became the first chief from outside in the town of Uxbridge, Massachusetts. Did a lot of amazing things with my staff there to enhance what the police department did with the community. Many things we're going to be doing in Falmouth. And one of them was they called it Lunch and Learn with the Chief Lourie. So once a month, I would go to the senior center there and we would present topics, whether it be the DA's office on scams, elder services. Again, the talented staff that work with me would present. Some things happened there, and I decided to kind of move closer to home again, and I became the first chief again from outside in the town of Westborough, Massachusetts. And we did a lot of crazy, amazing things there as well as a team. And at the end, I implemented a body-worn camera program. I took over with policies from 1986, brought those policies to 2023. And out of 351 cities and towns, the town of Westborough was the first department in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that was certified and fully accredited under the 6th edition. Accreditation is through the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission, and all our policies that are going all across the state, to include, I stole them and brought them here to Falmouth, basically are all post-certified, Police Officers Standards and Training Commission. Very proud of that. Saw that the Falmouth job opening came up and decided, I'd love to live down the Cape. My wife and I love it here, to overshare personally. And I figured I'll throw my hat in the ring. I was fortunate enough I competed against some very talented people. One of them is sitting here today. And I was fortunate enough to give the head nod, and I can say we're working very well together. He's a very invaluable member of the team, both Captain Lowen and Captain Reed. So very pleased to be here. One of the things that we kind of uncovered that they're going to talk about when I leave, I'm just going to touch on briefly. There's a few things that are of great concern, the priorities I like to call them. And they're going to touch on what we're asking for at town meeting and why I think it's very critical. So I just want to read something to you. I'm going to give updates on the PD. And what I'm going to read to you, this isn't a month. This isn't a week. This isn't a day, 24 hours. This is an 8-hour shift. So I'm going to read to you what I receive after every shift, every day, on what is going on in your town. And basically, I'm going to be reading to you some notable calls. So this is the evening shift. Weather was 58 degrees. The shift commander was Ryan Hurt. The staffing was 1 sergeant, 5 patrol officers, and 1 desk officer. We patrol land 44 square miles. It's a very large town. So I want you to imagine 5 police officers patrolling the size of this town with some of the issues that we have. It's a concern of mine. Staffing levels. Right now, we should be 67 sworn. We're working in the 40s. We have 11 people we're getting ready for the police academy, and 5 either lateral transfers or self-sponsors, or they just graduated the academy that we're trying to get into the ranks now. But we are extremely short-staffed. So when you look on our webpage and you see the STEP program, Strategic Traffic Enforcement Program, asking for officers to do motor vehicle enforcement in your areas, it's tough for us to do that because of what I'm about to read to you right now. So this is the evening shift last night. Roll call items were building checks, area checks, summons, restraining order service, complete unfinished reports. Notable calls: crash. Officers responded to Falmouth High School for a report of a male that had parked his car, exited, then got struck by the car after it was left in gear before he re-entered the car, and fled. Officer arrived to note a large pool of blood in the student lot. The vehicle and operator would be located at the Anchor Ale House on Davis Straits. The male was intoxicated and had significant lacerations to his toe. Officer Ruda applied a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. The fire department arrived and the male was transported to Falmouth Hospital. He will be summoned for OUI liquor and an immediate threat will be requested. If you can imagine the amount of personnel it takes, you have your whole shift dealing with that call for service, setting up a perimeter, trying to locate this person, large pool of blood. We don't know where that person's bleeding from. Is it a life-threatening injury? So, these calls that I'm talking about, it could take hours, one call. Notable call number 2, animal complaint. Officers responded to Route 28 North for a report of a disabled deer on the side of the highway. Officers located the animal alive with serious injuries. The deer was dispatched, and MES responded to remove the animal. Notable call number 3, assist others. Officers were dispatched to Falmouth Hospital to assist security and medical staff with an out-of-control violent patient held there under Section 12. Approximately 30 minutes later, staff called to report that the patient was still violent and was trying to kick a TV off the wall. Officers helped staff transport the male into a locked seclusion room without incident. A few hours later, officers responded again to assist staff as he was continuing to punch the seclusion room door and walls. So that's not just one notable call, that's 3 in one. Domestic, officers responded to Victor Lane and took a report from a female who said she was assaulted and strangled by her boyfriend. The suspect had fled on foot in a green sedan. Probable cause for arrest was established and a BOLO was issued. Be on the lookout was issued. Notable call, hit and run. Officers responded to Acapesset Road after a resident witnessed a green sedan crash into his neighbor's property and then flee. Officers arrived and located the sedan, which was the same vehicle the domestic suspect fled in during the previous incident. Officers began searching the area, and the K-9 team from Mashpee PD responded for a track. After an extensive search by officers and the K-9 team, the suspect was not located. A warrant will be issued for the male. Notes: 5 self-initiated calls, 21 dispatched for a total of 26 calls. That's one shift. That's every day. That's every day. And some days are not as bad, and some days are much worse. In the summer, we're going from 33,000 to sometimes over 100,000. That notable call list, much longer. I'm working with a depleted staff. I'm very concerned for them, for their health and their wellness. We need to add people. We look at our fire department, it's over 100 sworn. We're supposed to be 67 working in the 40s. So hiring, that's my #1 priority as your chief, as a temporary caretaker, is we have to hire a lot of people to make sure that we're able to do the proactive policing, the things that I would like to do to make sure you're safer. And I don't want to scare you. You're all very safe because we've got an amazing team that's working right out of that building that's absolute disgusting. We're going to talk about that too. So we're going to hire really good people. And that's what I tell people. I can train you, we can train you as a team to be a very competent police officer, but I can't train you to be a good person. If you're a jerk, you're a jerk. So I don't want to make a 32-year mistake. So I'm going to order these folks on, like I'm doing now, left and right, all of us working 12, 16-hour days with precinct meetings, town meeting, and all these things coming up, because I don't want to make a 32-year mistake. And that means you have to hire extremely hard, so we're managing a little easier. So that's the #1 priority, is more police officers in the town of Falmouth to better serve you folks and to give these folks some time off. When we had the 4th of July fireworks, we have to order everyone to work. It's all hands on deck. So when it was postponed, and we had near riots down there, we had a fatal accident on July 4th involving someone who owned a professional soccer team, so we're dealing with the Daily News and ESPN and all the... So it was extremely busy during that time. And those folks that are on that committee, they were hoping, hey, maybe we can do it on the 7th. And we had to say no collectively, the three of us powwowed as a team to say, we can't do this to our staff another day. And then they wanted Labor Day. They ordered on 100%, every single one of our officers, to include state police for 4th of July, for the Falmouth road race. We hired, 21 to 25 flaggers. They need some time off, which is why yesterday, some of us are working the road race. I used an officer from Harwich for Falmouth in the fall, because our officers, when they get a weekend off, they don't want to work because they're working constantly. If you go into any roll call and ask those 5 officers to raise their hands, probably 3 of them are on doubles or are coming in for overtime. And so we need to really hire. Number 1 priority. What's number 2? Number 2, the radios don't work. The radios don't work. We have a video from 2004 for an officer screaming for help that no one can hear him. That's unacceptable. That they work 85, 90% of the time due to the demographics, geographic locations in town, and due to certain weather conditions. I say that's unacceptable. It has to be fixed. It's not just an officer safety issue. It's a public safety issue. It's for you. Seconds matter when you're in crisis, and we need to be able to get to you and to communicate and get the assets to that location to better help you. So there's a warrant article. Yeah, it's $2 million. It's a lot of money. But that warrant article is to make sure that you're safe and your officers are safe. And we've got an unbelievable plan, and if you have questions when I leave, the good captains can answer it on the whys, why we're doing this, and the whats, and how our radio system is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be great. And especially you folks who live in Woods Hole, it's a problem area. When we were working the road race, the captain and I, we used the secondary channel, the primary channel. They didn't work, and our cell phones didn't work. So one of the first things that I did as the chief when I first took over is I decided I needed a secondary communication device. So I put a smartphone in every single cruiser for 2 reasons. 1, a secondary form of communication, and 2, for our social media team, and even if you're not on the team, let's say there's a pole down on Minot Drive, on Minot. Basically, someone takes a picture of that, avoid the area, we put it up on social media, they're not using their own personal cell phone. So even if you're not on the team, you're engaging with the team, right? We're stronger as a unit. So, number 2 priority, communications, radio system. And let's talk about the 3rd, right across over here. There's a word hanging in the captain's office, and the word is, they asked him, what did the chief think of the station after I was affirmed by the board? I came right after there, and Lieutenant Doyle gave me a tour, and my word was, I'm appalled. And it's hanging in his office, appalled. And it's just that. There's water pouring in from everywhere, from the brick, from the windows, it's coming up from underneath. And ServPro, I can't make this up, they came and they cleaned it up, and I spent upwards, I don't know, $30,000, I believe, total. Kristen, right? Right around there, between 2 different entities. I had ServPro come in, they cleaned all the ductwork, they cleaned the locker rooms, and they, quote unquote, it was the worst mold in the ductwork in the report room, or the officer's report room, that they'd ever seen. The worst. So when we had the open house, and someone very nicely mentioned that they enjoyed it, we had the open house. There was an officer with me giving one of the tours, and I explained that to them. And I said, we had air quality testing done when they were done, because if it came back it wasn't safe, I was going to pitch trailers out there and we wouldn't work out of this mess anymore. But it came back normal. And the officer said during the tour, and I can attest, I'm asthmatic and my breathing's much better now. So you can imagine, this is an officer who works there that, this is our most precious resource, our staff. We want to keep them healthy, we want to keep them clean. So what are we doing? We cleaned the place up. We had, I think, $1.7 million was set aside to rehab this station, right? Chief Dunn was going to have this station rehabbed. The bids came in, double, triple that, whatever it was, and then we had this wonderful thing called COVID happen. And then, boom, I'm your adopted son. I come in and I take a look at this place and go, no way. There's no way my staff, I'm coming from Westboro, from a state-of-the-art, just involved. This will be my 4th building project in my 35 years, but 10 years as a chief. And I was like, no way. Unacceptable. We're going to do our best. We're going to take some of that $1.7 million. We're going to take some good money, and we're going to put it into bed. What are we going to do with that money? We took $200,000 of it to do a feasibility study. Feasibility study is going to tell us where, how big, it's going to answer all the questions, schematics, design, everything. We have to do it. It won't cost $200,000, but I want to make sure we have enough money. We're just taking that money from the 1.7, and we're going to repurpose it to look at a new station, which could take 3, 4, or 5 years. Because of that time frame, I have to do something. So to save you folks some money, I have some fiduciary responsibilities, right, as your chief. I partnered with the vocational school in Bourne. They're going to come in, they're going to fix the front of the building, create a little interview room for me, because they take a lot of time and it can be disruptive, construction. Because if I say to all of you, go look at the front of the building, the rotten wood, the rotting wood, the rust. That's not what I want. We have people coming to train in our facility, other officers from across the Cape, because I want to poach them and get them here, right? And I'm embarrassed. I want them to see a station that we're proud of, a house that we're proud of, So we're going to have the kids fix that and save a little bit of money there, and then we'll have some contractors come in. We're going to repoint the building so water's not pouring in to my administrative assistant's office through the windows. God knows what's under that rug. We're going to replace that rug. We're going to create a new sergeant's office. I've got 6 sergeants working in an area it's awful. We're going to take what was the old dispatch area where the desk officer sits. We're going to separate that and create a little area where they can sit and congregate, have lunch, whatever. And we're going to create a new sergeant's office where the sergeants have their own workstations, etc. We're going to build a little gym downstairs. I believe in health and wellness. I know for me, exercise is very important to me. I exercise in the morning. I want the staff to be able to exercise at the station. It's going to be a small gym, nothing crazy, and we're going to take all of it with us when we build a bigger gym, hopefully at a new facility. So that basically are the 3 top priorities that are in front of us, right now. Whether or not you liked President Obama or not, he did something really good, and he did basically a study called 21st Century Policing. And there were 3 things that he pointed out in that study that I believe are extremely relevant, even more so to this day after what we faced in Minnesota and some of the other issues. Budgetary restraints, recruitment and retention. We're going to talk about retention in a minute, and public perception. All very important to me, and that's what this is. It's so your police department is advocating for you, working for you, public perception. Retention is very important because the pay in Falmouth, in my opinion, is very low. We're the second largest and second busiest on the Cape. You can go to Mashpee, you can go to Yarmouth, you can go to Barnstable, and you can make $10, $12, $15, $16,000 more a year. You're going to leave. So I challenge all of you, I challenge the town, do we want to be a destination or do we want to be a stepping stone? So those are the issues that, we're facing right now moving forward. All fixable. It's an unbelievable staff. The town is fantastic. You have to realize we have more sober houses than any other community on the Cape. We have more rehab facilities. We have a homeless population in town because all these folks are coming into Falmouth to get the help that they need. And I'm good with that. So what are we doing to enhance that at your police department? We were funded for 2 clinicians. They used 2 police officer salary to do it, and we're getting that funding back in July. I'm actually asking for a deputy chief's position. I want to talk about that briefly before I have to go, which is soon. And basically, we hired 2 clinicians, 2 really amazing women that are going to really offer better services for you folks when you need it, and for those that are in crisis. So I'm really happy to report we're finishing up the background on the 2nd clinician that we hired, who just passed her certification boards November 1st. And I'm really excited for what we're going to be able to really offer here in Falmouth. I had one in Westboro. We wrote a grant through the Department of Mental Health to save the folks some money. The money's there, and Captain Reed is working on a grant now, and hopefully 2. We've talked to the Department of Mental Health, and they believe we will qualify due to our summer population to pay for two clinicians, because I'd like to hire more police officers, obviously. And So succession planning is very important to me. When I left Westboro, I had a deputy chief. His name was Todd Minardi. They asked, I didn't have a deputy chief. I had 2 lieutenants when I first took over. And I created a 3rd lieutenant. It was due to post and due to body cameras. But the deputy chief was critical. Through our strategic plan, they asked us to have a succession plan. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to ask town meeting to create a deputy chief's position. So when it's time for me to hang up the cleats, so to speak, and I get to hang them up and then come down the Cape. By the way, sold my house in Central Mass in 3 days. I closed on a house in Falmouth, East Falmouth, on November 30th. Because I know what I'm saying to a lot of you is scary, right? I think this guy's going to have our taxes raised. I have skin in the game, so mine may go up a little bit too. Anything I ask for is because there's a need. The nice to haves, I understand there's always going to be no's. I want my team, our team, to see me asking, right? I want them to see me advocating for them as much as I'm really advocating for this room as well. So I'm excited to be here. I've been a chief for over 10 years. It's extremely rewarding to kind of put your playbook into the scheme of things. I had a great mentor many years ago when I was in Auburn. His name was Ronald Miller, the best chief anyone could ever work for, and I stole his playbook with my little spin, and I'm really honored and proud to be the temporary caretaker of your police department. And I have to go to another meeting, but I want you to know next month I will be here. I'm going to see if the town manager will come to have him address you. He's new as well. And I promise I'll stay a lot longer and stay as long as you want me to stay that day to answer any of the questions that you have. I wish I had more time today. But I look forward to meeting you this time, every month for years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. So I see, I'm just going to sit here for a bit. See a lot of familiar faces out there. I'm Captain Reed. I was almost the chief, but then this guy came from out of town, and he's been an absolute treasure. I've enjoyed working with him. You guys are getting great service from this chief. The department's under great leadership. We couldn't be happier. Chief, thank you for everything you're doing.
Can I add one little quick story? Sure. So this is really funny. So I had to go back to Central Mass. Chief Minardi had a little event. Like I said, my succession plan worked. He was a candidate pool of one. He's the chief there. He's going to be phenomenal. But I went to a family function, and my brother-in-law grabbed me, and he was driving his son down to North Carolina. He was a freshman at North Carolina State, and he was in Virginia, some state, and some gentleman approached him, and he said, "Hey, Massachusetts plates. I'm from Massachusetts, too." And my brother-in-law says, "Where are you from?" He goes, "I'm from Falmouth." He goes, "Oh, my brother-in-law is the new chief in Falmouth." He goes, "I know. They hired an outsider."
Small world. Small world.
So I guess what we're going to do now is just myself and Captain Lowen are going to try to field any questions you guys have for us. Of course, feel free to hold your questions till next month when the chief comes back, but we'll do our best to help you out today, too.
Good morning. I'm Steve Tom, and I was interested in your follow-up on the chief's comment about needing to upgrade the communication system. I have a little bit of a familiarity with the issues you're having. Without getting too technical, can you tell the crowd, I think we understand what the problem is at a summary level, but what's the solution that you think is going to need to be put in place?
Is this working? How about now? Okay. So, yeah, so I know you said you understand it, but maybe not everyone in the room has the same level of understanding. So, brief synopsis of the radio system. I've been with the Falmouth Police Department for over 25 years, and the radios they didn't work well when I started, and they've gotten progressively worse every year since. Our radios work on a series of receivers and repeaters throughout the town, which may not mean much to most of you, but there are radios throughout the town that rebroadcast our signal back and forth to the police department from the portables and from the mobile units, which are the cruisers. The equipment that is on those towers right now, the newest equipment out there is 30 years old. None of it is serviceable. I did a site tour a couple of years ago with our previous communications administrator. We went to look at all the equipment with a service provider. We were going to try to get a service contract on our equipment, and they took one look at our equipment and said, we can't write a service contract on this. We can't even get parts for this stuff. It's that bad. We've been told by the state 911 communications director that we're one good storm away from having no communications at all in Falmouth. Our radio system's in bad shape. So bad, in fact, that when he left our meeting, he turned his radio onto our channel as he left town, and he called his counterparts in Boston and said, we need to fix something down there right now. And they were looking at a proposal to get us on a statewide system. Unfortunately, that's not going to be an option for us because the statewide system on the Cape is scheduled for a build-out 2 years from now at the earliest, and right now they just don't have the capacity to absorb us on their system. We would get cut out and bumped out by other systems like Hyannis and Provincetown, probably on the times when we needed it most, like the 4th of July and whatnot. It's a priority system, and we'd be the new kids in town, so we'd be bumped right out. So that wouldn't help us. But we keep that on the back burner as a backup system. As far as what we're doing with the system we have right now, we have a proposal to upgrade all of our transmitters, receivers, transceivers, to modern equipment under service contracts. We have new locations throughout the town that weren't available decades ago when they built the system that we have. So we'll be able to have line of sight for our towers to areas like Magansett Harbor, Woods Hole, out in Wacoit, areas that are, kind of dead spots for us right now. We're going to have really strong communications. Everything is going to be digital. It's not going to be analog radio systems, which means you're going to get a crisper, clearer sound. The backups are no longer going to be copper wires. Everything we're doing right now is backed up on copper phone wires from the towers. Everything's going to be backed up on fiber. So it's going to be a much, much better system. It's going to be all digital. It's going to be P25 compliant, which I know means nothing to most of you, but it means that for us, that's the standard for being able to have interoperability with other public safety departments throughout the region. So it's just going to be a night and day difference to make sure that when someone picks up the radio and calls for help, they need to know that we hear them, and this is going to make that happen. So. When? Well, we have to have a discussion in November. Next week, step one, get approval at town meeting. Then it's going to be a pretty big undertaking to get the project going, but we already have the team in place, and hopefully, I would like to think we'd be operational by next summer. Yeah.
Just a quick follow-up for understanding. The old system, the different towers communicate by copper wire and by signals between the towers, is that right?
Yes, copper wire and then radio signal point to point. This new system is going to have site-to-site microwave backup.
Microwave and fiber?
And fiber, yes.
Okay.
Backup for the backup. The reason for the microwave and the fiber, the reason we need to have both is because they're implementing something called simulcast, which means the signal is going to bounce off multiple repeaters at the same time. So if for whatever reason one tower goes down, other towers will pick up the signal. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
After listening to Chief Lourie's description of the incidents here, this may seem a less significant issue. But I'm a member of the T-Ticket Association, and one of the concerns we have is the control of speed of vehicles on Mara Vista Avenue. The association would appreciate any suggestions that the police department can offer. It's particularly bad in the summer when the Boston drivers invade us. So I'm just wondering if that could be somewhere on the agenda of the police department.
So I think it's unfair to mischaracterize all the bad drivers as Boston. There's some from New York as well, so.
This thing working? Oh, here we go. We can add that to the list. I mean, especially in the summertime, every neighborhood, or almost every road in Falmouth has a speeding issue. We do have traffic grants, which allow us to supplement our patrol, so we're not relying on the 5 or the 6 cars that are out patrolling each area of the town. So where they'll take a list of the problematic areas, they can go out and conduct traffic enforcement. So we can just add that to the list. The Traffic Advisory Committee, if that happens, you can let them know as well. There's also a spot on our website where you can indicate traffic issues.
Just quick follow-up on that, though. I wanted to just reiterate what the chief said when he was here moments ago, is that, it's not that speeding vehicles aren't an issue or a concern for the police department, but we have to balance that with the reality that we're working with very, very low staffing levels, and unfortunately, sometimes we're dealing with a lot of things and can't get to everything. So just keep that in mind.
Hi, I was curious if the police cars carry an AED defibrillator in the car, and then if the officers are trained in using that.
Correct.
Because our officer saved my brother-in-law's life in Connecticut by having that in the car.
Yes, every cruiser has an AED in the back, and the officers are trained to use it.
Oh, great.
Officers get refresher training in that every year.
Yep, it's part of our CPR, first aid.
A yellow light means go fast, and a red light means go faster.
I was told recently that if a yellow light is turning red, that's considered an orange light.
Hi, Nan Logan from Woods Hole. We're so happy that we're going to have better connectivity with you guys down there. My cell phone signal is already problematic. I have a question about what the certification process might be like, and how that will change possibly policies in the department, or if you could speak to that.
Okay, so there's 2 different types of, we have to be clear which conversation we're having. There's police officer standards certification, which is each individual officer has to be certified each year through the post commission, and then there's policy certifications through the mass. That's the one you want to know. Okay, so it's a long, very involved process that basically takes a comprehensive review of all of our policies, of our physical structure of our facility, the way we're doing things, and make sure that everything is up to standards with the best practices in policing in the state, which actually mirror the CALEA standards, which are nationwide standards.
And just a quick follow-up, are your policies online now somewhere, or this will be a step forward with that?
They will be once they are, yes.
Is certification and accreditation the same thing?
No, certification is the first step. It's a lower level, and you can't get to accreditation
Without
until you're
having
certified first. You get certified, it's
And that's not
it's about
done yet?
150 what we call standards, which would be policies. Accreditation's closer to 400. So it almost doubles the amount of standards and policies rather
Okay,
than.
and then we go into accreditation.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But if you meet the standard for certification, you're well on your way to accreditation.
Yes. It paves the way.
The chief mentioned that I think 3 times you were called back to the Falmouth hospital or some hospital because of out-of-control patients. I wonder what the protocol is. How long did these patients stay there? Because as long as they stay there, it seems that whatever the protocol is, you keep them there. Do you have a protocol in the police department as to what happens if the patient is constantly acting out?
So I guess the best way I can answer that question is that we're never going to second guess the opinions of the medical staff. They determine the appropriate level of care, and we support them as much as we can.
Every call is different, so it's kind of hard to standardize a call at the hospital. Every patient's needs are different, and like my partner said here, we defer to the medical staff because that's obviously the higher priority, depending on the situation.
In most of our investigations that involve getting someone to the hospital, that's our priority. We can deal with summonses and criminal complaints and things after the fact. It's getting the medical care first.
We do have quarterly meetings with the hospital staff, the police department staff, to kind of go over, each in our operating procedures to make sure we're all on the same page, understand each other, and we've been doing that for a couple of years now, and it's been very positive, a very positive experience. So.
I have two questions. One, how old is the building next door? Your current police department?
1966, don't quote me on that, but it's around that, 65, 66.
And why did that get priority over or why did the fire department get priority over the police department?
That's not a
Yeah, you'd have
question
to
for
ask
us,
them.
that's a question for town meeting.
Yeah. I can't answer that.
From now on, you only get one question.
I have a question. The chief mentioned that the salaries are under what most towns are around here. And I think most people would agree we should not be competitive with other towns. Police officers want to work here. We're the #1 town on the Cape, as everyone knows. How do you overcome the fact that it's almost unaffordable for people to live here, to attract new officers here?
That's, again, that's a big question, it's a big problem, and we're not going to solve it at this table. But I can tell you that I would be in favor of, give these double, triple their pay, but that's never going to fly. But yeah, it is a real challenge.
To add to that, on the same line, along the same lines as hiring, Brian and I we created a hiring app probably a couple of months ago, and with that hiring app, we've been able to hire 11 that we plan on putting in the academy, plus I think it was either 3 or 4 lateral positions. So the hiring has been successful. The retention is going to be the challenge going forward.
So you're down right now?
If we were to get those 11 through the academy, we'd be down 3 as opposed to, Kristen can probably correct me on the numbers. 50, yeah.
So right now, we're operating we're down about 14 positions that we're actually operating with. Those kids that are going to be going to the upcoming academies, it'll be 9 months to a year before they'll be ready to go on the road as police officers.
It's a very long process. Back.
I need roller skates.
Yep.
That is the retention challenge, is that people can leave in an instant, and it takes better than a year to replace them with a police officer on the road.
Oh, my God. Hi. I just have a question about the fact that the police should never have been in this situation to begin with the town. I can't believe that the town hasn't supported the police officers the way they should have with looking for money, and I don't know if that comes from the police themselves. Have you asked for, things that are needed every year? And are you turned down for them? I can't, I'm amazed what I'm hearing today about the police here in Falmouth.
So
And how many officers now work in Falmouth?
Well, as the chief said, we have a little over 40 actually working right now.
A little over 40.
Out of 67.
Yeah, out of 67 that are
Yeah,
funded
and-
positions.
And to hear that the equipment that you use, isn't even updated or needed, and you haven't gotten any of it.
Yeah, so how we got here is, that's a discussion for another day and maybe privately, but I think the bigger question is where we're going. We have great leadership with our new chief, we have great leadership with our new town manager, and we're going to address our needs. We got good support from the public, good support from the select board, so we're heading in the right direction.
I think someone, in the rounds. Nope. Bye.
Good morning. How many officers, permanent officers, are out on disability? And how many of them can either come back or leave? And can you fast track any of the people that are doing the lateral transfer?
So the laterals, one starting Monday, one's already started, and there's another one who's got to go through a couple of more curriculum things through the state. We're hoping to get him on board at some point in December. I think line of duty, I think it's one. Just one, yep. And we've got 3 out on military leave.
We did have some other long-term injured folks that we were able to get successfully retired. They can move on with their lives, and we can now fill those positions.
Great. In all truthfulness, I work kind of adjacent to the police officers. So I'm going to do my regular questioning. How many people here are town meeting members? Raise your hand. Great.
Two.
Okay. I would suggest that when town meeting is in session, that you go and at least listen to what's happening. The reason they don't have the money to do the things that they should be able to do is budgets are always lessened by the town meeting members to save on taxes. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet and pay a few more taxes in order to fund the services.
You all set? Okay. Still working? Okay. More questions?
I don't know if you wanted to respond to her. Anyway, my name's Tom Stone, East Falmouth. Somebody came to me the other day and said, I have a gun at home I don't need or want. What should I do with it? I said, call the police department. They'll come and take it away. But what happens to that gun after it is turned into the police department? Is it destroyed or is it resold?
We'll turn it over to a firearms dealer.
So it can be resold?
Yes.
If the person who's relinquishing it wants it destroyed, we can arrange that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I want to thank them for coming. The chief and I and these guys, yes. This is something, when the chief came on board, he was talking up a storm that he wanted to start this project with the senior center, which I think is fabulous. So we're going to keep doing this each month. If there's things you want to know about, just put it in the suggestion box as part of the copy and conversation with the cops. We want to bring in guest speakers, so this is going to be a monthly forum, but I also want to say thank you to you all because it is such a positive direction that they are going in on so many aspects. So, I want to keep that positive note going with you all because
Absolutely.
it is, you really are.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So the other thing we want, yes, it's a lot of good things coming down the road. So the other thing we want to talk about is the fun stuff is what do we want to name this program? So if you got any great ideas, because the chief was adamant to make sure we talked about the team. I've got my senior center team. He's got his police team. I think. So in doing that, we want to make sure everybody's included. So he's going to keep bringing members of his team over here to you all. So if you come up with a fun name to promote this program, and I made sure that we had the full room so we can pack it with everybody. Okay?
Sounds good. I think he mentioned, he told us this morning, breakfast, it was either breakfast with the cops or breakfast with police. Well, that's a separate, because we go out to the coffee shops, but I think it was breakfast.
I humbly suggested policing with the people.
Policing with. Yeah. So if you got something fun, we want to look to that. If you've got ideas about things you want to know about, if there's guest speakers that you would like us and the police department bring, again, you just let us know. Either throw it in the suggestion box or give it to the reception desk and they'll get it to me, okay? Because this is going to be a monthly program. I think it's going to be fabulous. Yep. And these guys are going to be able to get you up to date each month what's going on over there, okay?
We have a long walk.
If the police are coming every month, will we also have other speakers at other times?
It all depends on the subject matter, but this focus right now is this one. Yeah.
Could you give us a little background about why you became a police officer and your education?
Well, yeah, I was a young kid watching police shows like, T.J. Hooker, Chips, And I said, oh, that'd be a pretty cool thing to do. I come from, my grandfather, cousins and uncles were all in the fire department in Dedham. I decided I wanted to do something else. So when I graduated from Falmouth High in 1993, went out to Westfield State specifically for criminal justice because that was one of the only things that interested me. I didn't like math, so the whole finance, making money, and all that other stuff, that ship kind of sailed. Wasn't interested in science or anything like that, but the criminal justice program at Falmouth High School kind of got me excited about criminal justice. And then when I went to Westfield State, it kind of reinvigorated that. So when I graduated Westfield, I did a couple internships through the probation department and the courts. I worked with the Department of Social Services as a social worker. That's how I started my career. Kind of got me out working with different families, different challenges. Took the civil service test. That was in 2002. Been there ever since. Went back and got my master's degree from Curry College. But it's the most rewarding career, at least in my opinion. No 2 days are the same. You come in every day and you have no idea what to expect. And I kind of like that, where you're not coming in and doing the same thing every day. So to me, it's an extremely rewarding and challenging career at the same time. Not even close.
It depends on the TV show.
It has its days, but not even. Look, a lot more fun on TV.
I'd like to make note of something. Probably about 6 years ago, my wife is a triage nurse for substance abuse. She did it for 18 years and was very, very good at it. She was noted for her effectiveness. We came across a drug situation in front of the Christmas tree shop. Narcan was used. We were the first ones there. She tended to this person, and you did an unbelievable job. And the policeman said, we see this every day. But one thing I'd like to mention, when they approved marijuana in Massachusetts, my wife, she interviewed thousands of patients in 18 years. And so it's a lesson in paying attention to when you vote. She said in those 18 years, she never had one patient that went on to further drugs that didn't start with marijuana. And I said, not one? And you got to know Sandra, she knows her, straight and as honest as can be. Not one. That doesn't mean that they all go from marijuana into harder drugs, but she never had one that didn't use cocaine or other things that didn't start with marijuana. And I said to her at the time, you should go on a lecture tour. I don't think people realize that. That's one of the big problems that you face. And you go home at night and you have to live with what you see. And God bless you.
Thank you.
Right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. All right. You're not leaving yet.
Just a quick follow-up, but not many people here. I couldn't see who raised their hand as a town meeting member. You're not a town meeting member. What you should do if you want to support the police is call your town meeting member and tell them that you heard that the police needed help and to support their budget.
I'd just like to take a moment to thank you and your staff and your comrades for all that you do to keep us all safe.
No, our pleasure.
No, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.